Greetings, I'm Jonathan Kay, former Microsoft MVP for Messenger and creator of Messenger Reviver 2. On May 18, 2017, around 9 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, Microsoft shut down the final Messenger server, ending the ability to revive and continue using Windows Live Messenger 2012. Back in 2015, when all the Messenger versions were still usable, I recorded myself installing, using, and comparing the various versions of Messenger, which you are about to see. So I think we'll get started with Windows Messenger 5.1, and it's a bit newer from some of the other versions that we'll look at, but it has the same user interface and most of the same features as Windows Messenger 4.0 and above on Windows XP, which can't be transferred over to Windows 10, so this will be close enough. Now I'll just use my Reviver tool as it supports Windows Messenger. Now this is the oldest version of the protocol that's been allowed for quite some time, which is version 8 of the protocol. And Windows Messenger 5.1 was actually released in 2008, but the code base really is from much older than that. If we go into the help screen, it'll say, 2004. So this is Windows Messenger, and the error code that we got there earlier was kind of expected. The first login with Windows Messenger. This is sort of the classic Windows Messenger and MSN Messenger conversation window, and the classic emoticons that most people are familiar with, or at least some version of them. There isn't that many features to this. It's pretty basic. Send myself a message here. You'll see here that in these versions of Messenger, the option screens are still just tabs at the top, as opposed to being categories on the left. I'll just make some sounds here. So that's pretty much Windows Messenger in a whole. So that's kind of where we got started. Then after that comes MSN Messenger 5.0. And 5.0 was released October 24th, 2002. Now, this is the last version that where they don't pester you about things, and I'll talk more about that in a second. Just restart here on my updated executables. We also have the butterfly here in the corner, which will fly around a little bit. You'll also see that in Reviver. And so the interface to MSN Messenger 5 is a lot like Windows Messenger, just kind of updated. It kind of had the look of MSN Explorer at the time. Some updated features here on the sides. Pretty much the same sort of options. Slightly updated toast here. The sounds aren't properly working, and it's actually the case in a few of these older versions. just because of the compatibility with these newer versions of Windows. One interesting feature here is the Browse the Web Together option, which sort of set you in 2 panes, one with the web and one with Messenger conversation window. Unfortunately, they expected people to pay for that feature, so you had to pay a subscription to MSN to use MSN Explorer, which actually what provided that feature. It wasn't very popular. So that's sort of the end of the classic versions of Messenger. And after that, we go into MSN Messenger 6. And Messenger 6 is actually where we start getting pestered, as you can see. It wants me to set the home page to MSN, which is something we'll see constantly through these. But MSN Messenger 6, it was released July 17, 2003. But it's the first of the modern versions of Messenger, where you have display pictures and custom emoticons and the features that people are most familiar with. It wants me to add a .NET Passport to Windows XP. Yes, I guess no one thought that one day we wouldn't be using Windows XP anymore. So again, slightly updated interface, slightly different colors, but the real change here is in the conversation window, where we got display pictures. You won't see a display picture for me on this conversation window because of how I had to fix Messenger to make it work again and sign in. The display pictures aren't coming in properly. Again, slightly updated toast here. Yeah, the sounds aren't working here either. We do have the new backgrounds feature, so we can set a background for the window, which I always thought was pretty neat. One new feature of MSN Messenger 6 that most people didn't even know that was there is that it supports handwriting or digital ink. So you don't see the interface on here. There was actually a tool to add it in, and you could actually do all sorts of things like put graphics in. I can send myself ink, though, from a newer version of the client. It's still backwards compatible. But yeah, the emoticon set here is slightly updated, but pretty much the set that most people are familiar with now. Here's where you'd set your own custom emoticons, just slightly different from the modern version that most people are familiar with. The launch site here was basically the activities in the games. I just came up with a fancy name for it. So yeah, again, this is the starting of the history feature, so we can save our conversations. Now after this is MSN Messenger 6.1. 6.1 gives a couple of different features, like being able to hide the Windows frame and change the color of the window. Unfortunately, it doesn't work on Windows 10, so we're just going to go straight to 6.2. Again with the pestering. This time we want the MSN toolbar. One little interesting thing about MSN Messenger 6.1 is that Microsoft added in a processor check right into the installer, so you had to have a Pentium chip in order to install it. And again, got to get you a .NET Passport in Windows XP. And so people who had like old Cyrix chips, which is a company that probably most people haven't even heard of these days, couldn't install Messenger. And one of my first projects was fixing the installation to take out that processor check. So I remember that pretty well. So this is MSN Messenger 6.2, released April 22nd, 2004. The protocol got updated here. The other ones we've seen so far have been protocol version 8. This is protocol version 10. And yeah, we got the, we can change the color of the window, and we can get rid of the frame around the window now. Other than that, it's pretty much the same. They changed that launch site button. It's gone. And changed to fun and games. A little more obvious what that means now. But for the most part, not a big change. These still look the same. All right, so that's MSN Messenger 6. Now, when we get to MSN Messenger 7, we get some of the other features that we're still kind of missing here. So let's go ahead and go to MSN Messenger 7. There we go. Slightly updated installer now. And we got the toolbar and the search and MSN Home and some shortcuts for sure. Now you can see we got a new login screen here. One of the new features of MSN Messenger 7 is that we can sign in as a particular status. You're not going to be online all the time. And then remove the butterfly. Well, there it is up there, but it's not moving. And we can, hide this window here. Still the .NET Messenger Service login screen. Now we also got a nice little welcome screen that doesn't work anymore. So we in the contact window now we have your own display picture here on the left-hand side. We now have personal status messages. That was a big thing at the time. We now have winks. Let's take a look at one of those. Also with the status messages, it could show you, of course, what most people are familiar with, which is showing you what music you're listening to. It also has the little function that was rarely ever used. That'll show you that if someone's playing a game and if the game supports showing that on Messenger. One of the few pieces of software that actually does do it is the Fusion Mega Drive or Genesis emulator, and so I started it up and with Sonic 2, so it shows that here, and it shows it in the contact window as well. And we also have the display pictures in the contact list, which is kind of neat. It comes later, but never in the small version. And we now have ink right in the client, so that we can send that. Let's take a look at one of these other winks. Is there any others? Yeah, the full set's here. This is one of my favorites. We also have the search button that got introduced here. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. The idea was that you would search on MSN Search and search with your friend. I don't think many people actually ended up using that. Also in this version, those tabs in the option screen have moved into the categories on the left. Again, most of the features here, probably ones people are familiar with. Got some antivirus detection going on in here. One neat thing is you can share these backgrounds with your contact, and so you could be synchronized. It was kind of neat. So that's MSN Messenger 7. And it uses version 11 of the protocol. So the versions of the protocol are continuing to go up here. So let's head over to 7.5, which was released on August of 2005. And this actually, oh, time to pester you again. This was jumped up the protocol versions as well. So this is version 12 of the protocol. And you can see that they've updated the login screen once again. Now if it knew our display picture, it would show it there like a modern version of Messenger. Same features here. Some tweaks here. I think this add a contact was down at the bottom before. Oh yeah, this version of the conversation windows take a second to come up. Some other new features in here are voice clips. So you can you can press the button and send a little tiny snippet of audio to your contact. I know a number of people who used to use that feature to make music or send whatever they're watching or listening to. Yeah, it seems to be stuck. Let's try signing it back in again here. And 7.5. There we go. So yeah, we have the voice clip feature as I talked about. We also have dynamic backgrounds, which were kind of a neat feature. Kind of stole from some of the features in Yahoo Messenger at the time. Ah, yeah. It's telling us we can share this. So, they're kind of neat. This one's a bit silly. This one's kind of neat. Just how it fills up the whole window, and it's actually interactive a little bit. This one's kind of fun too. They still got that search button. This time they've integrated it in with the send button. Of course, the nudge feature, that's in here now. So that's the MSN Messenger 7. Slowly getting to the features that you would expect from the modern version of Messenger. These toast windows now reflect the colors and show the display picture of your contact. So let's move on to Windows Messenger. And so they changed the name of MSN to Windows Live. And when they did that, they changed the name of Messenger as well. And the first version of Windows Live Messenger 8, the beta version, it's sort of infamous for not being aesthetically pleasing. And they actually had to completely change the interface that you'll see in a second. The beta version was released in December 2005. Yeah, this is it. It's orange and green. There's no, I mean, obviously there were contacts before, and now there's no contacts because of how the trickery is required to make this particular version work. The contact lists aren't working, which is unfortunate, but that's the way it is. There are some new features in here that were brand new at the time, such as the sharing folders. You would share folders with each particular contact, and you could drop a file in here and they would synchronize automatically. Some popular with some people, not so much popular with other people. Here it says I last shared in 1899, so that's pretty impressive. Another thing that people weren't particularly fond of about Windows Messenger 8 beta was that it required invitations to join the beta program, and people were selling invitations, and there were contests for invitations, and it's just kind of frustrating when it's that type of system. Now, if we had any contacts, you could look at the new Gleam feature, but we'll be able to see that a little later. So let's take a look. Oh, we can't see the toast because I don't have contacts. I can actually change the color of this. That's a little more pleasing. Anyway, let's move on to another version of the beta, which was a little later on. Now, this is kind of weird in that it's similar in some ways, but totally different in others. People weren't too keen on the version previously, so they made a lot of changes to try and please people just a little bit. So the interface, got rid of that sort of roundish thing at the top, and this is red because I chose the color earlier. Oh, you can make it any color you want. Again, no contacts, I'm afraid, but still changing the UI just a little bit from the way it was to make it more appealing. Pretty much the same features, though. Now, unfortunately, the final version of Windows Messenger 8, which was released June 19th, 2006, and even uses a newer version of the protocol, version 14, it doesn't work in Windows 10. I'm not totally sure why, actually. But the next version, which is 8.0, looks very familiar to it, looks very similar, so we can pretty much skip over that one. Now we're being pestered again. It's time for a Windows Live toolbar, the Windows Live Assistant, which becomes automatically installed in later versions. And no, we don't want to restart our computer to install Messenger. So yeah, this is more of Windows Messenger 8. And we'll just sign in. Now this uses yet another version of the Messenger Protocol version 15. It's mostly bug fixes from 8.0. Here are the gleams here. So the idea of the gleams is that if somebody had something new happening, like a new post on their Windows Live Spaces blog, or new contact information, it would show up here in their contact card. It was kind of neat at the time, but if you had a lot of contacts, it would get tiring real quick. Now, if we take a look here at the conversation window, the backgrounds are kind of spiffy on this. All the text in the toolbar has been removed, so we have all icons for everything. They don't really tell you what they do if you don't know the difference between this and this. And it does tell you if you hover over, but it is kind of weird that the text got removed completely. Most of these are the same features from before. Just look a little different. So that's Windows Live Messenger 8.1. Now we get into the more modern age, which is Windows Messenger 8.5, also known as Windows Live Messenger 2008. Now, Messenger Reviver supports 2008, so we can just use that to log into this version. It still uses the same version as 8.1 of the protocol. I remember my color, that's kind of nice. And the login screen doesn't work. Sharing folders, big feature in this version. Gleams are still in there. Nice background still. You see the search icon, the search button turned into an icon here. It still doesn't work. And the send button got moved out of the conversation, or the text field, and down into the bottom of the conversation window. And these handwriting options seem to have also made their way to down to the left side of the screen. But yeah, there aren't, the interface is pretty similar to the 8.1 release. The only difference really is the updated backgrounds and interfaces in the conversation window and the contact list. Let's take a look and see if there's some new toast here. Yeah, slightly updated here with the same look. Barely read that with the purple. probably a familiar sound. So that's Windows Messenger 8. Now starts sort of the big releases. The first version of Windows Live Messenger 9 Beta was one of those infamous beta releases, kind of like the Windows Live Messenger 8 Beta. But this one was infamous for another reason. This one's infamous for a feature known as signature sounds. Now, signature sounds, if you never were exposed to it, are a feature that lets you choose a sound for yourself that all your contacts will hear when you sign in. So, still want to get those sharing folders on here. So if we go into the signature sounds up here, you'll see there's a bunch of them here. That's right, I really need to change the color. That's better. There's a bunch of signature sounds. You can choose your own even, but let's just hear some of the built-in ones. So those are the signature sounds. I skipped some of these default ones. But yeah, the reason why this was infamous is because people could abuse it so easily. So you could have, any sound that you want blasting out of your friend's computer just by signing in. And yeah, that idea didn't really go that well. Now this also is the last version to have these statuses, the be right back, the be right back, in a call and out to lunch. It also is the first version to support signing in from multiple locations, like shown here. It also is the first version to have animated display pictures. So here's my animated display picture. And this is also the last version with the display pictures here on the right. Next version, we'll see that they move to the left. And there are some other small tweaks here. I think there's a bit of a shadow effect here now, which is kind of nice. But yeah, a fairly good beta, just the signature sounds didn't go over too well. So after that beta, we move on to the version of the actual 2009 beta Essentials release. So this is where we start having the whole Essentials pack. So we don't want any of these other products today. Now this version was released September 17th, 2008. And funny enough, the signature sounds are still in this version, so they hadn't made that decision just yet. You'll see that the installer here is sort of half done. At the beginning of this, we didn't see the stock pictures, and here they're here. It's also the beginning of a slower installation process. Up until this point, Messenger was pretty fast at installing, and after this it got a lot more complicated. Also, the introduction of my that Messenger tool to fix such install problems. And of course, we need to pester you again, change to the live search in the MSN homepage. Alright, so let's yeah, I think I went a little too fast there before it was done. There we go. And the welcome screen again. Yeah, we sort of almost look like the final version of 2009 here. Again, the signature sounds are still in there. Let's take a look at the toast. So basically the modern version of the toast, modern 2009 version of the toast. Now here in the conversation window, we'll see that the icons have text next to them at the top. So if you remember, we went from just having all icons, and now we have icons and text. And don't worry, because it'll change again. This version also has, as you can see, I have a scene in the background here, which is a bunch of foxtails. So you can actually go in and you can choose, a color for yourself, and a scene for the other person to see. One other feature that's in here is the I'm initiative, and if you're not familiar with that, it's basically this emoticon, which I'll now type, and if you used it, then Microsoft would donate money to a charity of choice. I do believe they raised about $3 million before they finished with that. The last version of 2009 actually removes that feature, but I think it was pretty successful. Now, this is also the last version where you can put the backgrounds in with the scenes, so you can have neat effects like this. And as I mentioned before, the display pictures are moved to the left, and we now have title bars as well. The normal Windows title bars with the caption buttons here. Before they were sort of integrated in with the into the Messenger window, and here they've moved outside. And you see, it still have the old icon here, no jump list, still the icon in the notification area. This version also introduces protocol version 18, which is what the final version of 2009 will use. So we'll just go ahead and install that. So this is sort of the refined version of the 2009 installation. And you have their stock art here. That's interesting. I actually saw this stock art so many times, just installing Messenger and so many different ways and testing so many different scenarios that I started naming these guys here in the picture. I really can't remember the names now. I'm pretty sure that last guy we just saw was named Chuck, but I don't remember the names of anybody else or who this girl is. They were just names I came up with. It's not like I actually knew who they were, but so this version, the final version of 2009, there's 4 versions of the final version of 2009. This is the first. The first version was released January 7th. This is the last one. And it by far is the most popular version. I did a sampling in January with who was still using Reviver, and about 80% of the people were using 2009. And we're almost done. I think there's about 2 or 3 files Reviver has to do to make 2009 work at the moment. So it takes a second to check all those and make sure files aren't in use and stuff like that. So we're signed in to the final version of 2009. Now if we look here in the conversation window, you'll see here in the toolbar, we've lost the icons and now we have text. So we had text with icons, then we had just icons, then we had text with icons again, and now we have just text. And no, we're not done yet. But now the signature sounds are gone in this version, but if you go in here and select choose sounds for this contact, there are all your signature sounds, and you can actually be specific about what sounds when they send you an instant message as well. So there's the default one. Let's change that to the alien. So they did keep the feature. It just is you're in control of it, and most people don't even know it's there because it's sort of hidden in the menu. The mail icon gets updated over here. We got our final version of the messenger icon. You can see your status here in the taskbar, and we got our jump list here. One feature people didn't like very much is this extra tile here. So you can close all these windows, but Messenger is still running. Most people didn't like that type of feature, but unfortunately they kind of broke the backgrounds in this version. So if we choose the background again, it only fills up the text window. It doesn't fill up the entire conversation window like the previous version. Not totally sure why that choice was made. I think I preferred it the other way, but that's Windows Messenger 2009. I think most people are probably familiar with it since it's the most popular version. It's what's new, and it would show, new things from people's blogs and that they linked up, and new status messages that they set. Unfortunately, it doesn't work anymore, which is kind of a shame, but I guess there are better ways of getting information. Now, the next version after that was version 2011. I have it as 2010 here, because that's what the beta versions were. And it was released in September of 2011. It uses the brand new version of the protocol, which is still supported, which is version 21. it does not install on Windows 8, 8.1, or on Windows 10 because it contains an installation bug where it tries to install the Windows Live login component, but that component is part of the Windows operating system now, and so it fails miserably. The newer versions of Messenger, like 2012, which we're about to see, it knows about that and it just skips it. So we'll just get 2012 started here. A little simpler installation, no more people to look at. Really, through the 2011 version, the beta version, the only real big difference was that the Essentials pack contained Live Sync, which then got renamed Live Mesh, and then was removed completely. But other than that, the feature set with 2012 is pretty much the same. So we can just look at 2012. Now let's sign in. Now it's funny here is the startup thing. You're logged in way earlier than this actually finishes. This is just an animation, and they'll get the same animation even if you can't actually connect. This is sort of the default view of Windows Live Messenger 2011 and 2012. Prior versions, you would get a selection whether or not you wanted to see MSN Today, and that kind of stopped working at some point. Facebook was working, but it's now broken, so we don't actually see any highlights here. Facebook chat does still appear to be working, but this part of the Facebook feature isn't working. And they've already announced that they are probably taking Facebook chat away sometime in the near future, so I wouldn't expect that to be around very much longer. This is probably the button most people are looking for, which is to switch it back to the right view. And let's bring up a conversation window. Obviously, the display names are gone in this version, so we can't use those anymore. They also removed the digital ink support, so there's no handwriting. There's some fancy animations. I think we got to see those when no, they're not working. The background feature was removed. There are some new emoticons. Let's take a look at those. Some of them are kind of nice. Some of them I kind of prefer the originals. You either love them or you hate them, really. There's also some new winks in here, and they put those together in the same panel. Let's see. Let's take a look at this one. Let's see, let's try another one. Yeah, that's those. Oh yes, right. The toolbar, as you can see, has been moved down into the conversation window, and now it has icons with text again. So we've come full circle. We had icons with text, then we had just icons, then we had icons with text, then we had just text, and then we have icons with text again. And this interface is actually a little better, I think. It's more clean than the old version than having it at the top. And this overflow menu here. Probably a good way to end the cycle. One other feature that got added in here was badges. And the idea of the badge was that you would, corporations or organizations would let you have a badge that they would pay Microsoft for, and then you could add it to your name, so it would show up next to your name. It wasn't really a feature that was ever really used that much. This version of Messenger really just wasn't popular enough, and they didn't spend that much time on it after things started going downhill. The personal status messages got changed, so you can add photos in here, links. Got an emoticon panel finally. One of the more horrible things is this advertising panel. The advertising isn't working anymore, but the panel's still here and displays the Microsoft logo. HD audio or HD video was a feature in this. It kind of, if you did a video call, the interface would sort of minimalize itself, and the video would take the whole place of the conversation window, which was pretty nice. And that is pretty much it. Oh yes, let's take a look at the toast, because it actually got improved in this version as well. So they are a lot bigger now, at least width-wise, and so they can display a little more information than the older rectangular ones, or squarish rectangular ones. But yeah, that's MSN or Windows Live Messenger 2011 and 2012. These versions will still be working for the foreseeable future, so you might be becoming more accustomed to these versions afterwards. Anyways, so I hope you enjoyed going through some of these older versions of Messenger, seeing some features, maybe some features you didn't know that were in there, maybe some that you forgot existed. Hopefully the older versions will remain working for a little while longer, so maybe you can check some of these out yourself. The Moment Reviver only revives Windows Messenger and 2008, 2009, 2011, and 2012. There's actually some significant changes that are necessary to make some of these older versions work that might not be that usable for everyone. But I hope you enjoyed going through these. I kind of had fun doing it. So thanks again for watching, and thanks again for watching. I'm just going to sign out.